This day is no longer just a Gallipoli World War I day. These days it has connections with all sorts of overseas battlefields, possibly too many. The torrid jungles of Asia, the dangerous sands of the Middle East and Africa, and of course the once wretched fields of Europe. And that's where we start tonight. Danny ISDALE joins us from Greece. And Danny, I hear that it's been a pretty emotional but also a joyous day for you there.
Yes, George, there's a certain sense of satisfaction and pride being in a place like this on a day like this, being in the places where our diggers fought and fell. It is a big year for World War II campaigns, the 70th anniversary of the Battle of Greece and Crete, which is why I'm here, also the 70th anniversary of the siege of Tobruk. There couldn't be a dawn service in Tobruk this year due to the troubles in Libya, but there was an inaugural dawn service on Anzac Day here in Athens. It was a small affair, nothing on the scale of our dawn services in Turkey and France, and indeed those we saw all across Australia this morning. There were a few dozen Australians here, descendants of those who fought, and a group of school students from Western Australia as well, gathered here in the pre-dawn darkness to remember the Battle of Greece and Crete. Their thoughts turned to the airmen, the soldiers, the sailors and the nurses who came here in 1941, and particularly to those who didn't make it home.
Same dawn, same day, but this service was different. Dozens of Australians, young and old, marked the moment we remember our diggers in Athens. The Anzacs killed, injured or captured here 70 years ago in the Battle of Greece and Crete. A small gathering compared to the Turkey and France commemorations, but just as moving after what has been an intense weekend.
It's, I never thought I'd get emotional.
David HAIN's dad and uncle fought here together in 1941.
They were desert-trained troops, but were now called on to fight in the mountains.
Some 600 Australians died and 5,000 were captured as the Germans attacked Greece and Crete on the ground and from the air amid a desperate Allied evacuation. The horror of those dark days is a distant memory here as tourists spend the Easter holiday sightseeing in the capital. But for the Aussies, these famous landmarks hold a special significance, walking in the footsteps of their fathers and uncles.
They're nearly all gone now, you know, all the fellows that Dad went with, so I think it's nice that, you know, we're sort of remembering them over here.
Janette Daly's thoughts are of her dad and his two brothers. Uncle Frank never made it home.
Dad was affected by the war pretty much afterwards. I can remember when I was fairly young, he used to get the shakes and everything, so I think he liked to remember the funny stories rather than the more serious things.
Martin Nothling's dad, a surgeon, did the same, though at times it was hard to be positive.
I know that he operated for 70 hours non-stop up in the mountains, and he told me they operated in tents.
Dr Otto Nothling, a cricket legend and friend of Sir Don Bradman, found his Red Cross wagon under fire.
And a dud bomb landed 2 feet from his head, so he was exceptionally lucky.
And exceptionally forgiving, as he proved years later back at his Brisbane practice, when by chance he treated a German fighter pilot for a skin rash.
This German said straight away, he said, well, actually, I was operating against the Australians in northern Greece. My father, of course, told him in the story. He said, I was there and we got bombed, the Red Cross. And the German looked at him and said, look, he said, I must apologise. He said, I'm going to tell you I was one of the pilots that day that dropped the bombs.
Then Martin told us they had a beer together.